This is Hope for Your Pelvic Floor, the podcast where we stop managing women's symptoms and start making sense of their bodies. I'm Claire Sparrow, Pilates educator, pelvic health specialist, and best-selling author. And here we talk honestly about what women are told, what the evidence actually says, and how real change happens. Welcome back to another episode, everyone. It's great to be here. We're cruising to the end of May now, which is unbelievable. I feel like this year has just gone in a blink. It really is. We're halfway through. And as we're halfway through, it's got me really reflecting on certain things we talk about often and the underlying beliefs and stories we might tell ourselves. And I know certain things that I have to keep reminding myself and getting out of the loop in my own head. And it's all kind of been inspired by the conversations that we have in the Pelvic Health Cafe. If you don't know already, we do a free monthly online pelvic health cafe. It's like, my idea behind it is the same idea you would have if we all got into the room for a coffee morning and just talked about everything that women want to talk about but maybe don't always talk about. And we just do that, but it's online. And the great thing about it is it brings women together from all over the world, and it gives a sense of relief, of unity, of camaraderie and community. It's just such a joy. And we do it on a Friday evening. And often I have been teaching a long day leading up to that. And I feel, gosh, it's late in the evening. I'm tired, all of these things. And I roll up to that Pelvic Health Cafe and I am so energized and inspired and just invigorated by the women in the group, because it's not a group about me. It's not me leading the group. I'm not teaching something. Maybe I'll answer some questions. And it's much more about the sharing, the community gathering. And that's what's so invigorating, I guess, for me. In this episode, I really wanted to talk about how logical you see the whole body pelvic health method. You listen to the podcast, maybe you're in my membership, and because you're still here, you're still doing the things, it makes sense. It's logical. You get it. It's almost, the people that say to me so often, it just makes so much sense. Why has nobody said this before? That sense of relief that there is a pathway to follow that makes sense to you. And yet, in the background, there's still that question, that lingering question about Kegels. And the reason that I say this is twofold. Firstly, I remember feeling the same way because I knew it made more sense to take a whole body approach. Everywhere I went, everybody said, just do Kegels, just squeeze it, just do strengthening exercises, do it at the traffic lights, do it on the school run, all of these things, that I found it really challenging to trust myself, to trust that knowledge and that intuition that went alongside my knowledge. And the second part of this is I am literally asked this every day by women who in one breath will say to me, this makes so much sense, whole body pelvic health. Of course we need to start with breathing. Of course we need to balance the tension in the body. And they really, they are on board, they get it. And then there's that follow-up question. Do I still need to do my pelvic floor exercises? Do I need to still do Kegels? Do I need to still use the Squeezy app? And it's because, many reasons I think that actually influence that. For me, it was definitely that tug of war feeling, for sure. This feeling that the pelvic floor physiotherapist, not Anna, who I work closely with now, but another one had said to me, you just really need to strengthen your pelvic floor. And they're an authority. they're somebody that I really trust and rate and believe in and still do, yet their expression of how to support pelvic floor function is simply through that lens of strengthening in isolation without looking at the whole picture. Really tricky. It's really tricky. My midwife had said it. My health visitor had said it. The GP had said it. All of these people that I trust, these people that I look to as authority, and yet it was when I looked inwards and felt what made sense to me and what my intuition was saying, on top of the fact all of the years of anatomy training and movement training and all of the experience, the lived experience in my own body and from teaching, I just knew that it wasn't the logical thing, but yet that trust piece, that question still lingered for me. It still hung there in the air and wouldn't just go away. I know this to be true for so many of you listening because this question comes up so much. And it's not that we shouldn't trust our medical professionals because they're awesome. They're truly amazing and doing incredible work, and we need them. And I also believe we need ourselves. We need to find a way back to self-trust, to autonomy, to listening into what really makes sense for us individually in our own bodies and following our own lead, as well as choosing those moments to take on the advice and guidance of other professionals or other experts. You'll often hear me say that we are the experts in our own bodies. I teach this to the teachers that I support on a regular basis because as Pilates teachers, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We feel like we should have all the answers. We're the expert. We should be able to respond to every possible situation. We should be able to think of what's going to happen. What are the potential scenarios in our class? In fact, yes, we can think of many of those things, and we can also trust and ask the authority of the person that we are teaching, the expert in themselves, the clients, you, the women in classes, you are experts. And we just don't always think of ourselves that way. We're seeking often the advice of others, and we are an authority. And I would love us to pause and take stock and trust and listen to our own bodies. For me, it took quite a lot, because when I had my diagnosis of prolapse, I lost all that trust. It was like I walked in the room feeling pretty confident in my body, understanding it. It was fine. I was fine. I had this in the back of my mind, it didn't feel right down there, and I wondered. But I wasn't prepared for that immediate shift to walk out of that physiotherapy office and feel a whole body sense of loss and lack of trust. Just like what I believed I don't know. I just didn't trust it anymore. I felt so lost in that moment. And I immediately, even although I had, I knew so much, I immediately went down the Kegel route because that's what they said. And I didn't trust myself, so I just did what I was told, even although in logic, even then, before I developed the whole body pelvic health method, I just knew it kind of didn't make sense. But I didn't trust myself, so I just did that thing. And I know, I share my story often because I think for many of us, it's hard to believe that we're not the only one. Honestly, we're not alone. And then part of this process that I went through, I had to come back to myself. I had to reassociate with myself and find that trust again. Because like many of us, we've inherited lots of stories, it's like menopause, or the stories that go with menopause. I remember just knowing it as the change, and that was about it. And it's not until we're faced with these things that we start to notice potentially some of the things that we've inherited on our shoulders, things like we've been told as well, things like you just have to accept it and move on. It's part of life. Incontinence is just part of your age. Like I was told, you've had 3 babies. This is just to be expected. You've been told by all of these authority figures, as I was. And even in some cases, you felt dismissed in that situation, or like you minimized, I think, the feeling of that I hear so often is of you've gone in and been brave and asked for help, and then it's been minimized. It's been overridden. It's been shut down almost, that your suffering and the implications on your life don't really account for anything. And that feeds in, I believe, to the lack of self-trust that we really need to cultivate in ourselves, because it's not a personal failing. It's a pattern in the world. It's history. It's more than just what's gone on for us. It's what we've inherited as well. So we know now, that it is not enough to do Kegels. And that question still lingers. You know that whole body pelvic health makes sense. You feel it working. Those of you that are in the membership, you know it. You're doing it. It feels like it's working. You're feeling the impact in your day-to-day life. And then it's looking still at that gap between feeling and trusting and knowing in that moment. We had a membership class this week, and there were some brilliant comments in the chat afterwards about how zingy and awake people's pelvic floors felt in that moment. And still that lingering question and that lingering lack of trust is there. It's in the air. I know it is, because it can just so easily get the trust, the belief, the faith in it gets lost in this world that we're living in the biases that we are experiencing as women. I just, what's my message today as I think about it and speak to you today? It's more about naming it out loud, that yes, this question that you have lingering makes sense because of the history we've inherited, from the experiences that we've had, from the professionals that we may have come in contact, those authority figures. And I would love us to just keep coming back to ourselves as an authority, coming back to logic for you in each and every moment, because it's not a knowledge problem. It's much more of a trusting ourselves, trusting our body. So it's our trust in in the logic, I'm pointing at the front of my head, like that thinking cognitive part, and also the trust physically in our body, because we are designed to heal. And finding a trust and a way back to that is going to be really, really important. And also to bear in mind that all those authorities are, they are people too, women often as well. And they are just the same as us. They may have had experiences that they've not necessarily learned how to consult themselves, to look inwards, to trust the body, because as a medical model, it's about fixing rather than prevention and looking at the cause and what can we do about that. Whereas whole body pelvic health is really looking at the whole picture, the full picture. And we're not in that medical model given the opportunity really for that. Many of you will have seen one consultant for this bit of your pelvic floor and one consultant for that bit of your pelvic floor, and one consultant for your digestion, as if they're not all connected. And deep down, it makes sense. I hear that story so often, and women come in saying, just doesn't make any sense, because this consultant up the front of my pelvic floor is saying this, and the other one's saying this, and that it doesn't make sense. And yet that question lingers because of the bias that we're residing within. So again, it's that question I keep repeating. I would really like us to come back to the self-trust, the innate wisdom, listening to our intuition and what really makes sense so that we can reclaim ourselves, reclaim our autonomy. It's your body. And I know we're not used to having that choice, and certainly not in this context, but I'm offering you that choice now. Whenever I introduce whole body pelvic health, or even in the cafe, we're in conversation. And often, even I'm looked at as that authority figure to give the answer for you to say, you tell me what to do. And the truth is, I'm pushing against that because I want you to learn a way of trusting and making those vital decisions for yourself, because you do know, I promise you do know, we're providing the information. I am all about, let's give you all the information possible so that you can make informed choices, informed decisions. Absolutely. And of course, there's a bias that I bring. And also I am so open to you just having a safe place to talk, to do whatever works for you, but with some information so you can. Autonomy is a tricky one, and it's really, really, really important. So how do we reclaim our autonomy? How do we actually do that? Part of it we teach in the whole body pelvic health method, where we actually teach you to start feeling your body again, not like touching your shoulder or touching your hips, actually feeling and sensing, listening to, by doing certain movements, by using the breath work. And then the trust will develop from there. So in your day-to-day life now, is there an opportunity for you to pause and just listen to your body? Focus on an area, maybe not even your pelvic floor. You could think of something a little simpler. You could think about your neck. How does your neck feel today? What is your neck saying to you? Is it saying, oh, I'm a bit tight? Or maybe it's your jaw, and your jaw is saying, I'm a bit clenched. Why is your jaw a bit clenched? Is it because you're stressed? What are you stressed about? Is it because you're also clenching your pelvic floor, clenching your glutes? What would happen if you let that go? And be in dialogue with your body. It's not you versus it, or it versus you, or you and it. You are one. And it's a beautiful relationship that you can foster together. So, whole body pelvic health is a method, it's a model, it's a perspective, it's a philosophy, if you like, and it doesn't ask you to reject everything that you've been told before. It asks you to add something back that was always yours, your own experience, your own felt sense, your authority, and your intuition. It's a way back to yourself, and Kegels, they're not the enemy, but blind compliance, like just going in without pausing and thinking about it, without knowledge, is. And that's the beauty of this question that you all keep asking, because you're not blindly complying. You are asking, do I still need to do Kegels? That curiosity means that you are on the path back to yourself, back to trusting and listening and moving forwards with that autonomy. That's so huge. So what inspires me so much is that you are asking for more for your pelvic floor all the time, just in the inside of that one question. And that's why, this is so important that we have this conversation on the podcast, that we can share this and naming it, that it's okay to ask that question and to have that curiosity. So I hope that by naming it, sharing it, and inviting you back to yourself, it can help you to find a little bit more trust in yourself, in your body, and in your mind, in your understanding, in your listening. And if you want to come to the Pelvic Health Cafe and inspire me some more, or ask questions, or share with that amazing community of women what's been going on for you, we would absolutely love to have you there. This is where on Friday, it was just such a treat because there was such relief from being in the room. Like, there were women that were just saying, I feel better already just knowing I'm not alone. Isn't that amazing? It doesn't, you don't have to say anything. It doesn't matter whether you speak or not. It's just about being witnessed by other women, being understood, having that be the permission itself to trust and come back to yourself, because you know then that you're not alone in this. And that deeply, deeply changes something inside. Does for me every time too, So the permission about Kegels is not in a leaflet or from a doctor's guidance. It's really from you. What makes sense for you? Let yourself be the expert and the authority that you are really looking for, and come along to the next Pelvic Health Cafe. We'd love to see you. I'll put the dates and the details below. Come and chat. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. You just show up with your cup of tea or your gin and tonic or whatever it is you want to join us with, but just coming together in that context would be lovely to meet you. So thank you for listening once again to another episode. It makes such a big difference if you like the podcast, you review it, you share it, you tag people, do all of those things to help more women get the support that they're for. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from today, as always, it's that you are not broken, you are not behind, and you are not alone. There is always, always hope for your pelvic floor, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.